Pittsburgh Steeler fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, just after 9 p.m., barely after 9 p.m. We're pretty much on time. Where else would you rather be, Steelers fans, especially after what some of the stuff going on today? And with me, as always, except when he's not, here's my big brother Rich. Big Bro Scho, how are you doing?
Oh, Big Bro Scho's been on the run all day today. I was just telling Dave, been home less than 10 minutes. Got home with 10 minutes to spare to get on here and do the podcast tonight.
Yeah.
So.
Well, luckily, this is good because I'm like, this keeps you a little bit from not. We had to do a pivot, of course. We had to call an audible, however you want to say it, because when the reports came out just after noon today that the Steelers had made their decision and they're finalizing the deal for their new offensive coordinator. We're the next live show. We got to talk about the issue. We're going to do that. So what we were going to talk about otherwise, we might get to it later on. We might not. We'll see. But so we're going to dive right in and talk about the quote-unquote new offensive coordinator. I have to say that with the quotes because it hasn't been officially announced by the Steelers. But there's been so many reports and confirmed from various places, even talking about the length of the contract, things of that nature, that I don't see that this is something that's not going to happen. We're just waiting for that official tweet or twixt or whatever you want to call it until it's out there. Is that a good way to look at it, Rich?
Yeah, and, we can speculate. I got my own speculation on what I figure is going on. This was done over the phone and, online or however today. And Steelers aren't going to announce it until he shows up in Pittsburgh and puts ink to paper.
Yeah, and there were some other things that kind of went down with this. For those of you out there, maybe you caught the breaking news podcast that Jeff Hartman and I did afterwards where we broke it down a little bit. I'm going to try not to repeat myself a bunch from that one. But I might reference back to a few things. But something that broke right as Jeff and I went to go on somewhere else, not to do with the Steelers, was that the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson from Detroit, told the Seahawks and Commanders, nope, I'm not leaving Detroit. I'm staying here. And Jeff was saying, well, maybe that's kind of what's going on with the Steelers. Maybe some of the people that were names that some thought were from the 49ers that would be linked to the Steelers. Maybe they've already given them that indication. But even later this evening, we now get the report that one of the might have been the only other candidate that the Steelers interviewed. I think it's Gerard Johnson is the way you say it, right? Quarterbacks coach for the Houston Texans. He informed everyone he's not going anywhere. He's staying. They gave him a raise and a new contract. The OC in Houston, Slowick, or however you say it, he said the same thing. He got a raise and a new contract. So there might just be that some people decided they didn't want to move on. So we're going to talk about this. We kind of went with a Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock reference. Is this higher joy or pain? To bring up the old song.
Hey, I'm throwing a live chat up there. Robert Armstrong Sr. says, "What's up, guys? Finally being alive. Thanks to my job finally giving me some time off. So glad to have you here, Robert."
There you go. Time off is always nice. But first of all, I'm giving this kind of an incomplete. I'm still waiting to see after this hire is announced what else the Steelers do. But we're going to talk about this a little bit. Some people in Steelers Nation are pretty upset. The comments early on, before we even hit go live for the show, were very positive. So we've already get some discrepancy there between the joy or the pain from Steelers Nation. Rich, what was your knee-jerk reaction when you first heard that Arthur Smith was going to be the Steelers offensive coordinator?
I looked at it as, what do I want to say? I didn't jump out of my seat, run around with a woo-hoo, but really my thought was, hey, that's solid. It's a solid hire, right?
Yeah.
Some people might argue that, well, we kind of know where his ceiling is, and but you can argue that you kind of know where his floor is too. And I think probably what has a lot of people disappointed is that it's not a real huge span, honestly, between the two. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
I don't see this guy coming in and being a flop,
mhm.
but I don't see him coming in either, and everybody starts screaming, "Hey, if Tomlin's going to go, he needs to be the next head coach,"
Yes.
kind of thing. But honestly, the word that comes to mind for me is competent.
Yes. Yes. And the thing is, and I said, I'm not upset about it, but it also didn't blow me out of the water. Now, because I kind of, the little bit of, oh, this is interesting. That happened for me on Sunday when the report came out. I thought it was interesting because I'm like, this is this is different than what the Steelers are going to do if they're looking for someone out of from the 49ers or of that nature, where some people thought the hire might come from. This is very different than that. But different isn't necessarily bad. But it's also not the most awe-inspiring hire that you could have. Now, some people are. Some people are.
Yet.
But for me,
Yet.
yeah.
I'm even going to say yet. And part of what makes me want to say yet is offensively, in my opinion, some of the best weapons that the Steelers have, or the things Steelers could do, is create mismatches using their tight ends. And when I say tight ends, I'm talking Muth, Mount Washington, Connor Hayward, and using those guys and creating mismatches. This hire can do those things. Or I feel very confident that this hire can do those things.
And it's so interesting because here's the first thing I'm going to say to bring this around to help everyone realize if you're dealing with joy or pain. Stop looking at his time in Atlanta. It's not that it shouldn't count at all, but you've got to remember, after his going into last season, when people ask me anything about him, I'm like, the verdict's out on this guy. First of all, I loved it when he grew the mustache. Loved the mustache during the preseason. Because remember, the Steelers played the Falcons in the preseason.
Yes.
So I remember all that leading up to it. So I thought he was an interesting character. But you're like, oh, what do you really think of the Falcons head coach? Well, I feel like he's not very proven yet because too many times you get someone that's that good or great coordinator, but just isn't a head coach. To me, that's so far the verdict on Arthur Smith.
Yep.
Because now, is that bad? No. Okay. Name other people that's the case. Dick LeBeau.
I was going to say, it's the first name coming out of my mouth was Dick LeBeau.
Yeah, Dick LeBeau. You could say Todd Haley. And people would say like, oh, we ran Todd Haley out of town. What were we thinking? But he actually, other than all the bubble screens, I wish we had him back, blah, blah, blah. Could it get any worse? Yeah, you saw worse for the next two coordinators. So that's interesting. I'm not going to dive into a bunch of stats because I'm doing that on Stat Geek this week. I'm going to break down the numbers and stuff with everything with Arthur Smith. I will bring up the stats. I think Jeff you're probably going to hear him again tomorrow on Let's Ride. I brought him up on the Breaking News podcast. I'm going to go ahead and repeat him just for everyone that didn't know. If you look at Arthur Smith's time in Tennessee, okay, when he got promoted to the offensive coordinator, that he followed Matt LaFleur. And the Tennessee's offense was not good the last year with LaFleur, and he got hired off. They were, as I said before, they were ranked 27th in points, 25th in rushing. The first year under Arthur Smith, they went up to 10th in points and 12. I said rushing. I'm sorry, yards, just yards. Hopefully I cleared up that mistake. Not rushing, yards. They were 27th in points, 25th in yards. Then under Smith, they jumped up to 10th in points, 12th in yards. And the second season under Arthur Smith, they went up to 4th in points and 2nd in yards in the NFL. Now, some people are saying, "Oh, can he really develop a quarterback? Is it really your offensive coordinator's job to develop a quarterback?" I don't know. All I know is that if you just do a little search, you want to look up stats. I'm going to even try to bring up a little bit here. For one, Ryan Tannehill, who was quarterbacking when Arthur Smith was in Tennessee. Okay. Where did you see his best numbers of his career? In 2019 and 2020,
right.
whenever Arthur Smith was offensive coordinator. He was Ryan Tannehill was a Pro Bowler in 2019. Now, I think he was one of those replacement guys, or whatever. But I mean, he threw for a lot of yards in 2021. One less touchdown, way more interceptions. But I would say arguably the best years of Ryan Tannehill's career, with the exception he had one decent one in Miami, but his best in Tennessee were the 2 years with Arthur Smith. So you can't say, "Oh, he can't do a quarterback." Oh, what about the receivers? If this is a ground and pound team, what about receivers? You know what? AJ Smith was pretty good those 2 years too. So I'm kind of writing off the whole thing of, let's look at Tennessee and see what he did as a coordinator, because some people can't handle trying to be the guy that runs the offense and being the head coach at the same time. We see it a lot. I've said a lot. Now I should let you talk a little bit.
Am I supposed to just talk in general, or you have something you want me to talk about?
Well, if you wanted to comment on any of the stuff I just brought up.
No. The one thing you brought up there right at the end was actually something you said. AJ Smith. Name. You did. You said AJ Smith.
Two receivers from the Eagles and combine their names all the time. AJ Brown. Sorry, AJ Brown. Sorry. Yeah. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, not Devontae Brown. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Now I got you off kilter.
No. I know where my train of thought was going, and that was exactly when I saw over the weekend that the Steelers had interviewed him. The first thing I thought was, if the Steelers go that route, what they're getting is a guy that was good as a coordinator and less good at being a head coach.
Yep.
So that's why, again, like I said, I wasn't just like, "Ooh, the Steelers are going out," and they went out and got this super innovative up and comer and this and that. Nope, they actually didn't do that.
Yeah,
but they went out and got what I feel is a more proven commodity than what the Steelers have had in their last two offensive coordinators.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you have to admit that if you go back, I don't know how far you want to go back with Mike Tomlin, you could say, Bruce Arians might have been the best coordinator. Honestly, it probably was Todd Haley. And Todd Haley's another one. Just like I said, he's a guy that meets that criteria. Didn't cut it as a head coach, was a good coordinator. Now he can head coach in the UFL or whatever it is now. That's fine. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to count stuff with Atlanta. Now, a lot of people saying, "Hey, you had Bijan Robinson, didn't use him. You had Kyle Pitts, you didn't use him. You had what's the receiver? London, right?
Yep.
He might have struggled with that. I don't know. The other thing you also have to look at when you're trying to figure out the joy or the pain was Arthur Smith so successful with the Titans because he had been there so long, it was so familiar with everyone that was there and everything that they had. So that could be a negative.
Look, you could try to sit and read into all kinds of great stuff here. Here was another one. Cecil brought up, said some guys just better as coordinator. Said Wade Phillips sucked as a head coach.
Yeah.
Great coordinator.
Oh, who's the coordinator for Kansas City? Defensive.
Spagnola.
Yes, there's another one.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Yes.
Um,
So it's okay. To
yeah,
me, it's okay. The guy got the job as a head coach because he was a good coordinator.
yeah.
Just
And
because he didn't pan out as a head coach doesn't mean he necessarily forgot how to be a
how
good
to be a good
coordinator.
coordinator. Yes. And it's funny because what Jeff said or on the Breaking News podcast is like, is this an upgrade? I'm going to say yes.
Yes,
This is an upgraded
this is an
coordinator.
upgrade. Yes,
The question that Steelers fans are going to want to ask, and we're not going to know it for probably 9 to 11 months, if not longer, is was this hire everything that it could be?
right.
That's the difference. But maybe you could have tried to get something that was everything it could be, and it didn't ultimately work out. Why would it not ultimately work out? Well, one, if you go, young up and comer, you want to go and hire them, maybe it works out great, maybe it doesn't. And if it does work out great, guess what?
They're gone.
Chances are you only have them for a season or two, and then they're going to then they're moving on to be a head coach. So I don't know that comes into the train of thought. I don't think that should whenever they go to
No.
hire someone. But my goodness, look at Dick LeBeau. Look how long he stayed with the Steelers after he had a shot as head coach. Didn't work out. Comes back to the Steelers and is there for a long time. Coordinators are usually, and most teams are only there for 2 or 3 years. So this is something that if teams aren't really interested in Arthur Smith as a head coach because he didn't do a very good job, and he ended up doing a really nice job of coordinator, he's someone you could hold on to for a good while. So, but it all comes down to performance. So we'll have to see ultimately how it goes. Now, what about the rest of the offensive coaching staff? There was the report, the rumor, it probably has nothing behind it. Jeff and I talked about it, how cool it would be. About, Mike Munchak said he'd like to come back into coaching. Then Smith worked. He was under Munchak when he was in Tennessee. They have a past relationship. Maybe they could convince Munchak to come back to Pittsburgh. Well, right now the Steelers already have an offensive line coach unless something changes there. So that's that. I still like the whole notion of bringing in Mike Vrabel as assistant head coach because the Steelers don't have one since Sean Mitchell retired. So there's all kinds of things like that. But do you think there'll be any kind, much of a change up with this with the coaching staff that he's going to be working with offensively?
I don't know. Might still be a little too early to tell.
Yeah.
I would imagine it'll be like you see a lot of times. You'll see a couple positions change probably.
Mm-hmm.
But not a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know because it's hard to find coaches' contract statuses, even head coaches sometimes, let alone the staff. The rest of the staff. I don't know if they're last year when the Steelers all of a sudden hire another linebackers coach. You're like, oh, is he moving from inside linebackers to outside linebackers? You find out soon. Nope. It was that Jerry O's contract was up, but they didn't bring him back. Didn't even know his contract was up. Didn't even know. So I don't know if Pat Meyer was brought in under a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal.
Right.
Because a 2-year deal, he's done, and they'd have to sign him again. I didn't know Terrell Austin's contract was up that for him to be re-signed. I thought he had another year, but those are just really difficult things to find, honestly. So we'll just have to see. That's going to be the big question. So this is more of, you can spin this however you want to right now and look at it positively or negatively. You could focus on the time in Atlanta. You could focus on the time in Tennessee. You could even try to, like I even said, say, well, was Tennessee just the right situation for him? Who's to say Pittsburgh's not the right situation or even better? It's hard to say.
Yeah,
so
it's hard to say. But some other things I like. I like the fact we get it done early. Good. Now we get the guy in the building. He can work on putting an offense together based on what the Steelers have for players. You know,
Yeah.
it's like let's get it in, let's get it done. Plenty of time for the coaching staff to work on stuff. Boom. Let's start training camp.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get it done. Yeah. Bring on free agency. Bring on free agency. See what they're going to do there. Bring on the draft. Believe it or not, don't worry. I know. You looking at those mock drafts there, Rich?
I despise mock drafts.
I was giving you a chance to say it. So, anything else you want to say about this before we kind of wrap it up and maybe roll into another topic?
No, other than just I'm one of those that, like, if you're going to make me put initial grade on it, I'm probably giving it a B minus grade right now.
Yeah.
Just based on where it's at. It's definitely an upgrade from where we were, but the final grade, you can't even begin to say what the final grade is.
You got to see
when
how
he comes
how
in
it
and installs
shows up
for an
on the field.
offense. Yep. So
you could have the most. It's kind of like a draft class. You could have the most amazing draft class on paper that you think, but when you go to put everything out on the field, if it just doesn't work, it just doesn't work.
Yep.
That's exactly what could happen here. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? We have to wait patiently throughout this offseason in order to see. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break right now because we'll come back. We'll do our new segment that we tried out last week, see how that works. And then we're going to briefly talk about the subject that we were going to have for this podcast tonight. So make sure that you stick around so you can hear that. If you're with us here on YouTube, Facebook, Twixter, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us on the audio, stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, Steeler fans, here we go. We just had a nice little discussion about offensive coordinator. Don't worry, for those of you in the live chat, we'll come back to it at the end of the show if you know what I mean. For now, we're going to do our segment that we tried last week that we're going to look at doing for the offseason. It was lots of fun last week. Lots of fun. So we're going to try it and see how we can do. We're going to come up a couple of these for the first few weeks, and then we're going to see about maybe incorporating them from you all. But what it is it is 5 minutes of non-Steelers discussion, of non-Steelers talk. We brought it last week. It was a music discussion where we were talking about great, albums that every song on it is great. We're not going to talk about it anymore today. If you want to know more about that, go check out last week's if you weren't here. Rich, this week it's you, so I have no idea what we're going to talk about. What is our 5 minute discussion point?
First, I just have a quick question for you, Dave, because I didn't get to ask it at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
That would have been a better place to ask it, but since you brought up the show and we had our topic for the show, I needed to know what your weather was today. Was it sunshine or rain?
Oh, don't worry. We're coming back to that at the end of the show. Just you wait. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I've got the discussion. Okay. For our 5 minutes of non-football. So it's a Friday evening or a Saturday evening. You don't have the kids, or the kids are elsewhere in the house doing something, and you and the wife decide that you're going to watch a movie. But you're kind of leaving it to your wife, so you know that the movie is going to go towards chick flick.
Chick flick. Okay.
Okay. What I want to know is, what is your guilty pleasure chick flick to watch with your wife?
Okay. The timer has started. Okay. Now, for the ladies in the live chat that are going to chime in, you just get to say what you think at all. Okay. My guilty pleasure chick flick. I've got several of them. That's what's sad. But I
do. But we have one
great
that
to
we
watch
can never,
with your significant other. Honestly, they're only great if I'm watching with my wife. Okay, there's a couple movies out there that we can enjoy watching, but the problem is they're just so darn long. I don't ever want to worry about taking up the time on a Friday night, like Titanic or Gone with the Wind. Things like that. But to me, there's two.
Okay,
there's two. You ready?
Yep, go for it.
And one of them is probably going to be one of yours. Okay? One of them Letters to Juliet. My wife and I really enjoy that movie.
Really?
Yes. That's just
Yeah.
one that we, all the time we'll turn to each other. I'm like, hey, you want to do this one? Oh, win-win. We just bring that up all the time. Is one of those chick flicks. But the other one is, I'm sure it's going to be one of yours, is Return to Me.
That is one of mine, actually.
With David Duchovny and Minnie Driver and Carol O'Connor. And that movie is just fun. The old guys are hilarious. And it's just I mean, it's sad. It's really sad, but it's sad more at the beginning than it is. Oh, okay. Return to the Jedi from Jeremiah. Yeah. So those are mine. I can bring up some other ones after
Okay.
you share.
Return to Me was my number 2.
Okay.
And the one I'm putting at number 1, I'm putting it number 1 because it is one that I will sometimes even watch if I come past it on TV, even with my wife not here.
Okay.
And it is Serendipity.
That, you know what? That's a pretty good one too. I saw that one in the theater.
That movie to me is just not just a chick flick. It is all. I mean, it is a true romantic comedy. I mean, that movie I just find is hilarious. So that one is my number 1, and number 2 is absolutely Return to Me. We reference that movie all the time. My kids get sick of hearing referencing that movie all the time. And actually, I'll say a line and look at the kids and be like, "What movie is that from?" And Alex was real little when the Return to Me movie came out, so she didn't know the name of it, but she wanted to watch it one time, and we're like, couldn't figure out what movie she was talking about, and she was like, "This movie."
I remember
from at the beginning, where Minnie Driver's in the hospital and has the oxygen.
Oh, it has
tube.
the thing. Yeah. I remember that now. You had said that to me. That's
Alex was like 3 or 4, and that was how we went to that movie. But
well, even with that one, because I've had my daughter watch it, and just occasionally I'll just say to her, I'm like, best male singer of all time, and the answer is supposed to be
Mr. Frankie Sinatra.
Oh no, because I expect her to give me the Minnie Driver answer. Dean Martin.
Yeah.
So I have one Frank Sinatra song on my iTunes.
And it's the one from that movie, isn't it?
And it's the one from that movie.
Real McCoy.
Actually, that's what I thought the name of it was. The name of the song is actually At Long Last Love.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, it's a good one. Let's see. I'm trying to think of so there's some more classic ones. You said Serendipity because my wife always liked John Cusack movies, so we would watch things like Better Off Dead and Say Anything, and more classic ones like that. If she really likes Sleepless in Seattle, so if that was on, or You Got Mail, those are ones that I'm okay watching. But if I had to pick, it would be one of those. There's another one in there, but I can't remember what the other one is that we would do. That I'd be like, okay, I'll watch that. But yeah, believe it or not, some people, we're getting a lot of answers here. 51st Dates. I don't know. Would that be a chick flick? I don't think that's a chick flick. That's a great movie. I wouldn't consider a chick flick.
It's a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
So,
but I wouldn't call it as much as a chick flick because guys would like it because there's our 5 minutes. Because Adam Sandler's in it and funny. Kind of like, honestly, if it's on, I'll watch Just Go With It when they're in Hawaii with Jennifer Aniston. But yeah, so yeah, those are. I can take I can tolerate the chick flicks. That's fine. That's just as much as my wife watches superhero movies and stuff with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We try to find it. We try to work
balance.
and find a balance. Yep. So.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there was another good one. When Harry Met Sally. That's a good one. All right. Let's get back to this. Here was our topic. If it wasn't for the Steelers hiring or reportedly coming to an agreement with an offensive coordinator today, I was going to talk about the games from Sunday to say, what can we draw from those games that tell us things about the Steelers? You watch the games on Sunday, Rich?
Some. I didn't get to catch all of them.
Okay.
I probably caught a decent amount of the Baltimore game, except for when I was there was a stretch where I was running over to mom and dad's, and then I caught some of the game there, and then the little bit between left, I think, at the end of the third, and got back here to then finish it out. And I saw mostly just the first half of the second game, and just really wasn't that into it, and was really, really tired and went to bed. But I do have some takes on what the Steelers can take from it.
Well, let me tell you about my experience watching these games. Okay. I would just tell you this. My wife was just in a mood on Sunday. Not in a bad way, in a good way, in a very, happy giving mood, because I was just kind of down. I'm like, man, I got to watch this AFC Championship game. But if the kids were busy with stuff. I'm like, if I just sit and watch this game, I'm going to get mad. Either way, because I don't really want Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl again. And I definitely didn't want the Ravens going, even though, I felt like this was their year to do it. Lamar stayed healthy all year. It seemed like everything was lined up for them. They had the number 1 seed. And I'm like, so the worst was if the Ravens, because of living in Maryland and dealing with Ravens fans. I don't mind Ravens fans, all Ravens fans. It's the non-knowledgeable Ravens fans that just drive me nuts.
Yeah.
So my thing was, I was like, I just wish there was something else for me to care more about. Guess what I ended up doing? Guess where I watched the AFC Championship game?
Where did you watch the AFC Championship game, Dave?
Across the river at the casino.
Nice.
I went to the casino to watch. Now, I was kind of mad because it was a Sunday. I'd never been on a Sunday before. And they didn't have the area open in the sports betting area where they have the big screens. There's usually blackjack tables right there. None of them were open. So now I still got to watch the game. It just wasn't. I thought I'd be like big screen and get to play blackjack. Yeah. So it was the whole idea of, you know what? If things are going wrong there, that's not the most important thing right now. What's more important is I'm doing better at the table. So I did that. I actually almost left at halftime of the NFC Championship game. I had gotten up from a table. The minimum increased. It was time. I was not doing. I had one bad beat of where I had a lot invested in a hand because I split twice to have 3 hands and doubled down on one of them. And when you're sitting there with 20s and the dealer is showing a 4 and draws the 21, it's just like dagger. Anyway, so I went over and actually watched just before halftime where I could hear the commentators. So I saw that where I heard the commentators. Otherwise, I was just watching. And one thing I did miss was the strip sack where Lamar lost the ball, because I went to pay attention to something else, came back, and it was a commercial. I'm like, I think someone got hurt. And they come back and I'm like, what happened? So luckily I did catch that later. So, and I did watch the first part of the next game there as well. Made it home by the start of the second half. But it was really nice to have that distraction. So let's talk a little bit about this game.
It's funny. Okay, so I got a text before the Ravens game from Thaddeus Kennedy. All right. Mm-hmm. So Thaddeus texts and says, who you want in this game? And I, wrote back like, well, what I'd really like is for a big sinkhole to open up and swallow all of M&T Bank Stadium, take the Ravens and the Chiefs with it, and the FC isn't represented.
Yeah, that's what I say. And like some fans would say, in the one luxury box.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I thought. I'm like, can they play to a draw where neither team's allowed to go or something like that? Or even better, just not play. I mean, what if they go to 8 overtime, then it's still 0-0 because they both stink so bad? Would be like ideal for me. But honestly, I'm okay with how things went down. I do have to answer this question. Sherry Richards wants to know if I won. Well, if I would have left at halftime of the first game, the answer would have been no. but them decide to stick around, it was decidedly yes. So I ended up having quite a good day then.
Yes,
We'll
everyone out there should know Dave and his number geekiness does very well at blackjack.
Yeah, but it's so funny because and you have the two different side bets you can do with where I was. You get the lucky ladies, or then you get the thing where you're playing the dealer's card, your card, and you're trying to get a 3-card hand, and they're like, "Oh, the odds play so well." You know why they have those side bets there? Because the casino would likely lose money on blackjack if it wasn't for them getting the side bets.
Yep.
Because blackjack is the one game where the player actually has an advantage over the house. But people are like, "Oh man, you would have hit that side bet if you'd have played." I'm like, "Yeah, so I would have won something 20-1. That's the first time in 50 hands I hit it."
Right.
No. Everyone else at the table was down when I left, pulling out more money. Not me. I left up. So remember that if you're someone who likes to go out and do those things. So anyway, all right, back to the game. Back to what it means for Steelers. Well, first of all, let's just say this. 17-10 is the Ravens' nemesis this year.
Yes, it is.
I love it.
I figured you'd go there because that's right where I went.
I love it. Lost both games to the Steelers 17-10. And then lost this one 17-10. And I want to tell a little bit of a story. I saw something on Twitter where someone had shared, had some bad language in it. So I was like, I wasn't going to go in and do anything with it. It was some podcaster for the Ravens, not someone that's through the Fans First Sports Network. I can tell you that. We have 2 Ravens affiliates, and they're knowledgeable. It's actually nice. This guy it was crazy. He was just really, this is what you're going to talk about. He was going on and on right before this was before they played in the divisional round. Going on and on and on the show. All I wanted to talk about was how the Steelers were garbage. And they're frauds and blah, blah. And anyone just wants to get in the playoffs and play the Steelers. They haven't won a playoff game and blah, 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 blah. And going off on all these things. You know what I thought? 2 words came to mind. Rent-free. The Steelers live rent-free in so many Ravens fans' heads. Because even with all their success this season, and they were getting ready to go on a quote-unquote Super Bowl run, they want to talk more about the Steelers not being good. Because they can't stand it. The Steelers beat them twice this year and have won, 7 of 8 now? I think it is. 4 in a row in Baltimore. Like something like that. Man. Just the Ravens put up crazy points this year. I mean, they put up crazy points this year. They 3 times their 3 lowest scoring games, both against the Steelers and this one in Kansas City, 10 points. Their next lowest loss, 19-22 in overtime to the Colts. So look at these points they were putting up. This is in a row. They lost 17-10 to the Steelers in week 5. Then they put up 24, 38, 31, 37, 31, 34, 20. They won that one 20-10, 37, 23-7, 33, 56. And then what'd you get with the Steelers get at the end of the year? 10. Go to Houston or host Houston 34. Kansas City 10. They really just kind of blew that.
Yeah.
So what
did you think too? Did you think too that the Ravens against the Chiefs defense looked an awful lot like the Ravens against the Steelers defense? You think the Chiefs took anything out of the games Ravens played against the Steelers?
You think? Let's see. They've got a very good head coach and a defensive coordinator that used to be a head coach. It's a very good defensive coordinator. I'd have to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. All you got to do is kind of get in the Ravens' head. Did you see the pregame stuff?
No.
Did you see the Justin Tucker thing and the Arthur Millette thing?
Oh, I don't know that I saw the Arthur Millette thing. I saw the Justin Tucker thing.
Yeah, Arthur Millette just got into it and with some players and got shoved back and everything. That's why I think it's ironic that when the Ravens came up big to stop the run and line up man to man, they're like, "Oh, we'll just go deep on whoever Millette's guarding." because he's a run-stopping nickel. That's what he was.
Yeah.
And beat him deep and won the game. But the Tucker thing, that was pretty. I mean, you got to give the other team their end of the stadium. You can't do. I mean, that you're in the opposite end of where your team's supposed to be warming up, and you're going to go down there and just try to get in their way. I know the kickers kind of do their own little thing, but they usually respect other people. So
Anyway,
Brian Anthony Davis said something on the Here We Go show this morning. I hate to do this to you, Brian, but I'm going to call you out on something.
uh-oh.
He said that the Ravens lost this game and the Chiefs are back to the Super Bowl, and they are obviously not as good as a team as what they were before. I disagree. They are obviously not the offense they were before.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year, Kansas City Chiefs, regular season, number 1 ranked offense in points and yards. Defense, they were 16th in points, 11th in yards. Decent defense, great offense. What do they have this year? They were 15th in points, 9th in yards on offense, but for defense, second in both categories.
Yeah.
Number 2 defense in both categories. I don't think they're a worse team. They're a different team.
Yes.
And people look at the numbers, look at the fantasy, look at all this that you can do and everything else. What are they now? They are a very good defense with a game-changing quarterback that can do the things to win, whether it's a 17-10 win or a 44-41 win.
Yeah.
That's what they are. So I don't think they're worse. They're just different. Their defense was completely different this year. So to me, how that translates.
But they are who we thought they were.
There you go. The way that translates to what the Steelers can take away from this is the ever-growing narrative from all the talking heads and everyone, because everyone loves offense, that you've got to score crazy points in order to win the Super Bowl. It helps. But the Chiefs, they put up 17 points in the AFC Championship game, and they're back in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Now, how much of that was the Ravens blowing it?
You got to force people into things, and they did.
Yeah, exactly. That interception into triple coverage in the end zone. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when Joey Porter Jr. pulling in an interception. Yep. It wasn't triple coverage, but it was, Lamar trying to get cute in the end zone. And then, the fumble into the end zone. That was just.
Hey, the guy's trying to make a play, but the defense said, okay, we'll make one too.
Yeah.
I mean, did that remind you of things the Steelers would quote unquote get away with? Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to bring up something as we transition to the other game. You know what people aren't talking about because the Chiefs are the AFC champions and ended the Super Bowl? Do you remember in the second quarter of that game when the Chiefs were down in the red zone? And they had a 4th and 1, long 1 or short 2, whatever you're going to call it. They decided to not kick the field goal and go for it. They didn't get it.
Nope.
No one's talking about that one.
Nope.
Because they won.
That's right.
Because they won. Sure are talking about it the next game.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I got something that I didn't go looking for it because I'm sure I probably would have found it. But if you wanted to look on Twitter or X, I try not to just go into other things. I have a list of people that cover the NFL or specifically the Steelers, and that's all I get in my feed. So unless they quote somebody else, I'm generally not going to see it. But I had a feeling that if I looked for it, I would find this. And I was going to say this. Dan Campbell passed up a chance to go up 3 scores in the third quarter by not trying a 46-yard field goal and went for it. Dan Campbell passed up on the chance to tie the game in the fourth quarter with a 48-yard field goal and chose to go for it instead. I'm surprised there weren't Steeler fans out there saying, yeah, Campbell went for it. Probably should have kicked the field goal. Tomlin would have punted.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, there probably had to be a Steeler fan out there.
There probably was. There probably was.
Yeah. So hey, at least he went for it. Tomlin would have punted. Would have taken a 5-yard. Would have taken a 5-yard delay a game to have more room to punt. So yeah, but also feel bad. You know, the first one, it's just a drop pass and everything. Did you see any of the discussion in the Slack channel today where we had someone who's not a podcaster, who's a writer for us? I'm not going to call him out too much, but was really kind of going after Jared Goff.
Yeah, I saw that.
Unless you already have a problem with him ahead of time, I don't get how you lay that loss on him.
Yeah, I don't see either. I thought he actually played a very good game.
Yeah. Well, let's just say this. He didn't lose it.
Yeah.
He didn't lose in the game. You know, he didn't fumble away on one play. To me, you want to know what lost that game? One stop. The Lions needed one defensive stop in the entire second half.
And couldn't come up with it. Yep.
What happened? Field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, end of game. That was the 49ers second half possessions.
Yeah.
So once again, I kind of focus a little bit on defense. You can't just completely overlook defense and think that you can that having a super prolific offense is going to get you the whole way. That's what I take away Steelers wise from that game. What about you?
Yep, because there will be a time where as a team, you've just got to come up with a stop.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. If there was a time in that game I thought Dan Campbell was going to not kick the field goal and go for it, it was the last play of the first half. That's when I thought he was going to go for it. And I wonder if he was upset that he didn't, and that's part of the reason why he did the next 2 times.
Who knows?
Who knows? I do understand people are like, hey, that's who they've been all season. They've been aggressive. Yeah. But you've got to think of game situation. You know, the 49ers come out to start the second half. They get a field goal. You hold them to a field goal. You can even say that. But they get a field goal. If you answer that field goal with a field goal and they're still right back with the same deficit, that's huge. And I mean, my goodness, when you're in the fourth quarter and a chance to tie the game, that's big because you must make sure that when you get the ball back again, it's a one-possession game. And that's what happened to them. They did not get the ball back for it to be a one-possession game. So you got to be a little bit better situationally when I say that. But you also got to be a little bit lucky, man, about that off the face mask. I thought that should have honestly been offensive pass interference. I thought he interfered with the defender to keep him from catching that ball. And then it hit off the face. If you were going to call it, like there was a flag that they picked up. And I'm like, there's no way they could call that pass interference because the defender didn't touch the offensive guy. The offensive guy went after the defender. So, yeah. So what do I learn with the Pittsburgh Steelers about this? Defense matters. Being able to get the big stop when you need it is key. That's why someone like a TJ Watt is so valuable because he comes through usually in those big moments. Think about when the Steelers didn't. when they played the Colts and they gave up all those runs after run after run after run after run. Okay. You've got to get the key stop in the key moments. Okay. And also, it takes a little bit of the ball bouncing your way in order for things to really come through in the NFL.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about those?
About those? No, but you got something to get to.
Oh, no, I have. I know we had a super chat.
Okay, just make sure.
But the reason I didn't bring it up yet is because we're coming back.
I knew
we're
why.
Coming back to that subject here to finish up.
But I also was looking how deep we're getting into the show. Time to get moving.
There's a nice little thing here now that we didn't have several months ago here on StreamYard that we use, that actually I can click over and get just the super chats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really nice to have that. So that's why I mentioned when it first came up, I mentioned Marky D. I got you. We'll get to that later, because normally in these shows, we're probably going to hopefully have time to do questions. We didn't this week because we in essence covered 2 topics because we had the new Arthur Smith stuff there. And for some people, they came in the second half, they're like, hey, what about the new OC? That was what we talked about the entire first half. Go back and check that out. Sherry Richards brought up something I forgot to mention. Lamar catches his own pass and gets 13 yards.
Yeah.
He caught it on the run.
Totally took it away from the defender.
Yes. Yeah, that was
actually one where I had to just be like, Lamar, that was a heck of a play.
Yes, it was. But then again, he had a fumble and a bad interception. So
yes, he did.
Yeah. But I'll say it one last time. I thought the last time the Ravens won the Super Bowl, I kind of felt that was their year, because I said, hey, you got it. They were the 6th seed and everything. I'm like, you're going to have to pay Joe Flacco because he won a couple games. And it's going to kill your salary cap, where you're not going to be able to get back there with him ever again. So it's kind of got to be your year. It's all or nothing. This one just felt like it was their year because Lamar just had never been healthy. How many times has he been unhealthy? Like last year, he wasn't there for the playoffs, missing so much time. He was healthy all season enough to get them the number 1 seed. Still didn't help. So, all right.
They got out schemed.
Got out schemed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And got in their own heads. I honestly think they got in their own heads. Going to bring this up. We got $5 dingo here from Steelers Nation Australia. That is Marky
loves me some dingo dollars.
So this is coming back to the subject that we're going to have for our final question, and that is, he says, fire Smith. He says, just getting in early. You heard it first from the Aussie bloke. Just kidding. Steelers going to the Super Bowl. Chances are there's something in the middle there for both of those. Although I did already see a fire Smith, fire Tomlin hashtag at somewhere earlier today, not as a joke. So I really appreciate that, Marky D. But we're going to come back about Arthur Smith. Our original thing was, we said, is it joy or pain? Because it was the Rob-based DJ Easy Rock. But what's the next two things in the next line, Rich?
Sunshine and rain.
Sunshine and rain. So here's what I'm going to say. We've got 4 options with how you feel about the Arthur Smith hire. And don't bring it up yet in the live chat. This is the big question. Is it joy? Is it pain? Is it sunshine? Or is it rain? Now, let me define those for you a little bit. Joy is just like, hey, this is great. Steelers got a guy. Seems to be a great fit. Super excited. Let's go. Let's go win some games next year. Okay. Pain is the exact opposite. Oh my goodness, what are the Steelers doing? They had a chance to hire somebody new, and this is going to get the same old stuff with the Steelers, and it's going to be no different or worse than what it was before. That's your pain. Your sunshine is that, you know what? This is pretty good. I'm all right with this. This is looking pretty good. But it might get too much sunshine, makes it a little bit hot. So I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be great the whole way, but I kind of have a good outlook on it. And then rain is kind of the same way. It's the more moderate negative take of, I'm not really excited about this one. He didn't really do well as a head coach, but you know what? He was a pretty decent coordinator. Maybe it'll work out, but I'm not getting my hopes up. That's your 4 choices. Okay. So if it was on a scale of excitement of 1, 2, 3, or 4, joy would be 4, sunshine would be 3, rain would be 2, and pain would be 1. Rich, are you joy, pain, sunshine, or rain?
I am sunshine.
You are sunshine. You know what? So am I. I want to look at this from a positive. I'm trying. You didn't say much. From a positive aspect. You go ahead.
Look, it, it's one of those where, like I said before, I'm not going to say joy
Why are
until
people
I see more
answering?
product. I don't know.
You can't answer until I put it out in the chat.
I know
There's
everybody
people
just
that are here all the time. You know what? You know what the problem? I know exactly what the problem is, Rich. You know what the problem is?
what? What's the problem?
Wait. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out. The problem is that this is what they can't do.
Can't wait.
That's right.
Yeah,
They can't wait.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait. Okay. So back to what you were saying.
I can't call it. It was going to have to be sunshine or rain for me because I can't call it joy because I haven't seen a product yet. And I can't call it pain because I haven't seen a product yet. You know, I want to see the product kind of guy. But you know, I'm fairly optimistic about this. I liked the guy as a coordinator, and think that we could have a good coordinator.
Yeah, so. I think that if we got Tennessee Arthur Smith, I'm happy with that. Now, did they go win a Super Bowl? No. So I'd like to get a little bit better than what it was with Tennessee. Yep. But you know what? It wasn't necessarily from a lack of offense that they didn't. Okay, I do love what Jeffrey Benedict said. We miss you, Jeffrey. He says it's Pittsburgh, Dave. It's cloudy. It's always cloudy. And Sherry Richards is right. It's a false start. We have a 5-yard penalty. But guess what? Penalty is over. I just put it out there. Now people can say, is it your joy, your pain, your sunshine, your rain? Because I didn't want to ask it the same way as I did last week when I said, we'll ask this question how people are feeling about stuff as stuff goes on. And then something already – I didn't know that they were going to hire someone before the Super Bowl was over. I'm kind of glad they did. I just didn't expect it. So, yeah. So let's see. I do have to bring this up. Okay. That Steelers Nation share. Marky D had to say, I hope we win Super Bowl with Matt Canada's players. You know what?
That's funny.
I've you know what? The Steelers couldn't win it this year. And they couldn't win it, you know, I don't think they can win it next year. Because I don't want them to have a Super Bowl of the only reason Omar Khan won it was because it was Colbert's players. People want to talk about Cowher's players versus Tomlin's players. I'm sorry, they were all Colbert's players. They were Colbert's players, either way. So, yeah. So, there we go. So, here we go. And after she was in there first, she says rain. Not very happy with it, but could probably be swayed to maybe go enjoy and jump in some puddles. There. Kathy, she just said 3 because she didn't remember which one it was. That would be sunshine. Okay. And Gabriel Golden says joy because it fits what they want to do with the run and the big pass. Thomas Riley is sunshine. Jeffrey Benedict is sunshine. Steeler Chick 46 is rain. Steel Dog 88 wants to split the difference to go sunshine on a rainy day. Okay. Isaac Aguilera, he's joy. He's ready. He's good to go. He says happy. That's great. Steelers Pittsburgh says sunshine. Brian Brown did the emoji well, sunshine. Partly cloudy, but says can't be worse. Okay. Jack says sunshine. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Renzel River says sunshine, but A+. So in other words, that's got to be on the verge of joy, wouldn't you say?
It probably is. But
okay, I gotta get the voice right. Marky D.
I love this one. I love this one.
Joy and double joy.
Yes, I love that when I saw it come up. Marky D. Marky D wins the live chat tonight.
Yeah,
Marky D wins the live chat tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And of course, we have to get from Jerry Cherry Band that says he's seen fire and he's seen rain. Mark Tobin says rain. Let's see, what else do we have here? A lot of people just chiming in, saying what they want. Gavin,
Anthony. Yep.
he says sunshine, but we could use more sunshine. Yep. Okay. Sherry Richard says they start sunny with a 40% chance of rain. I'm glad we don't have any pain. I've seen pain on social media with everything. Too. And I don't really need it. I don't. I get it. I understand if you really wanted something else, if you wanted the Steelers to go in a completely different direction. I don't know how well that would have fit. When you really sit back and think about it, if you would have brought in, someone McVay, if you know what I'm saying, or Shanahan. No, Shanahan probably would have been all right. But, or McVay, I don't know. Is that really what the Steelers are built for right now?
Right. It would have really taken some time.
Yeah, so we'll see what they can do with it. I like it because I think we might see free agency and draft focused back in the trenches on offense. I think you're going to see another lineman taken high. I'd be fine with a center or another tackle, and that's right now assuming that they don't make a big splash there in free agency. So we just got to see how that all plays out. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm feeling. At first, I wasn't overly excited at first. Kind of like Jeff Hartman was when Kenny Pickett was drafted. His reaction was less about what the situation was and more about dealing as us doing this as podcasting with the website, dealing with how Steelers fans would react to it.
Well, at least at least it wasn't Andrew Wilbar's reaction to drafting Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yes. that never gets old. So, all right, make sure to check it out.
It will never get old.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, the Steelers fix was because of the breaking news, and it kind of changed up their podcast a little bit. It got bumped to Wednesday. If you're wondering where that was, and that's because Steel City Insider was not recording to run on Tuesday this week. It's going to run a little bit later this week, but it will be in there as well. So you'll get all of our podcasts just a little bit coming at a different time. Don't know if you all checked out Dee in the week that was this past weekend with her first podcast with us. She should be doing that again. That comes out on Saturday. Other than that, we should have the same live shows, all the good stuff. Thursday night, we're going to be back to closer to our normal time with the preview. Probably look for us around 7:30. Because of we have some other meetings, but other obligations that weren't there that keeps us from going at the normal time. And of course, always check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. We're continuing to bring some good discussion there in the comments about the Smith hiring. If you want to go check those out. Rich, what do you have to say to close us out here
tonight? I'm missing it. I'm missing Steeler football already.
Yeah.
But we are on to, as I call it, we are on to that different game that we go through, known as the off season. But as we see, it doesn't take, all of a sudden, boom, something happens and we've got plenty to talk about. Happy to see, I mentioned earlier in the show, happy to see the coordinators there. Got the coordinator in, plenty of time, get to work, get an offense ready to roll, get the players started on it, get everybody comfortable. This was, the first domino or the first piece of things that are going to go on for the Steelers in the off season. Looking forward to all of it. Always fun to see what the Steelers do. Always gives us plenty to talk about. Just, what move comes next? Not sure, but I do know what I can say about it. I can't wait.
Can't wait.